Well, let's get right at it. We are joined right now live from Calgary, Alberta, Canada by Lion Fight welterweight sensation, Jake Peacock. Jake, let's get rolling right with you. How has the preparation gone for this fight, considering what everybody is going through right now when it comes to the pandemic and quarantine and all that kind of stuff? Has it made a big difference for your training, or has it really been not that big of a deal?
Yeah, a little bit of a difference just at the beginning there with some of the restrictions. I couldn't have my whole team around me, but we got by, and my training's been going fantastic. I feel in great shape mentally, physically. I've been putting in the work, so really, really good camp so far, and I've got 3 weeks left. So.
Well, I had a really good chat with Jake a couple of weeks ago as well, and I guess the question was now from our post conversation is you told me that you'd put on some weight leading into this fight, but over COVID you sort of muscled up a bit, felt powerful, felt probably the strongest you've ever felt. Is that going to be much of an issue come day to weigh-in?
No. I work with TJ Whelan, Coach TJ, my nutrition guy, and he has my nutrition and dieting down to a T, right? So come weigh-in day on Thursday night, I'll be 149 on the dot. I for sure put on some more size. I'm walking around a lot heavier than I usually do this close to a fight. Still in great shape. But it will come off real easy for the weigh-ins.
That's perfect. Yes, we met your full team back there in Ireland at the start of last year, of course, before COVID took over. There's a good puppy in the background, want some love. So yeah, I remember meeting the team there. You had your diet dialed in. He was even cooking the meals in the hotel. Will he come along again to this show with you and
yeah, he'll be coming out
in the room for you?
He'll be coming out. Yeah, he's the man. He comes out and makes me 5 meals in the hotel room and whatever I want. It's pretty amazing, actually. But he's a great guy and extremely knowledgeable. So, I mean, that's why I make weight so easy. It's just effortless. He has me eating like 5 meals the day before weigh-ins. You know, like he has me drinking up until 12 hours out from weigh-ins. So, which is just great. Some fighters starve themselves for 3 days. And don't drink and expect to be able to perform. I mean, that's tough. That's tough for your body to handle. But he has it down. So, yeah, it's been good for me. Good for me. And I'm really powerful right now. I'm strong. I'm powerful. I'm explosive. I'm quick. I'd say the best. I've got the best athletic feat so far in my life for this fight. I feel. But yeah, I'll make weight all the same. It is 2 pounds heavier. Plus a pound, so I can weigh in at 150. The fight's at 149, and I know this guy Keemaan. There's a change of opponent. He usually fights at 54. I've seen some of his glory fights. We're all at 54. I'm surprised actually that he makes that weight. He looks pretty skinny, but I guess he's got some dense muscle. He's in good shape, so I'm assuming he'd be on the lower end of the 154 because some of the guys he was matched up against were quite a bit bigger than him, but he's a tough guy. So I'm ready to step in there with him and put on a great show. And I'll definitely bring a fight to him. I know he's had some tough fights in the past, but this will be a whole nother level for him.
Yeah, that's
Jake,
fantastic.
I wanted to kind of. Sorry, Nathan.
I mean, all my fights so far, my opponents have been very different. John Garcia in my first fight, he came out and he put pressure on from the bell. Like, he was in my face from the bell and 8 shots and just kept coming forward. My second opponent was a little more hesitant, and so I played around a little bit, just had a little bit of fun, took my time. My third opponent in Ireland, Lee Walton, he was a tough guy, and he moved a lot, very, very mobile all over the place. And originally for this fight, I was supposed to fight Vasquez, who's very stationary, linear movement forward and backward, but tough guy, heavy hands and heavy kicks. And now I'm fighting someone completely different. A taller guy, rangy, loves his left kick. I won't go too much into detail about him because don't want to give anything away. But the way I approach training camp is I'm just looking to better myself as a whole in every area. I want to make keep my strong parts strong and on point, but I also want to work on my weak areas, right? I again, I won't mention everything or details, but let's just say I'm very diligent in working, noticing my weaknesses and working on those weaknesses to turn them into stronger strengths. If that makes sense. It was a bit of a ramble.
Never a ramble from you, Chet. We love to hear what you've got to say, and it's just so interesting. You've had 4 fights as a professional and 4 knockouts. I mean, really, only 4 fights is such a small amount of fights, and you're already at that highest level of it, as far as dialing in your diet and advancing your techniques and changing your game. I mean, when I had 4 fights, I never even had this concept in my mind of how much more I needed to develop, or how much my diet was better, or what wasn't needed to be better. So to me, it's like you're a 40 young star, but you've had 40 fights in your bank, and you're just dialing in every fight and getting more sharp and more clean. Like I said, adding different techniques and different movements and different strengths to yourself. It just blows my mind after 4 fights that you're already at that place. So I just feel like it's going to be a really exciting future for yourself, of course. But the opponent change for me, I think, is a good thing. I think this is going to be a really great fight for you as far as styles make fights. So I'm excited to see this matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And hey, he's a great fighter, and he'll definitely come to fight. Right, he's from a good camp, and so all respect to him. But I'll be putting on a show, and I'll be bringing him a serious fight.
Yeah, and I guess for him, dominantly coming from a glory or a kickboxing kind of background, he's now stepping into the Lion's Den, of course, Lion Fight, which is Muay Thai, full Thai rules, clinch, elbows, the whole lot, which I know you love your elbows. So, that's a real game changer. So I feel like in a lot of ways you have that upper strength, but, as we step in there, anyone can win. So it's about bringing your best game every fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, can we switch gears? And I'm curious about your recent post with your wife training. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, she's 9 months pregnant, and the baby can come at any moment now. We're a week and a bit from the due date, so she's ready to pop, and she's still training. So
the baby's gonna come out punching.
Yeah, seriously, I think so. No, she's staying active, and she wants to hit pads every day if she could, hitting the bag and doing some stuff. So, yeah.
Is she not only your biggest fan, she's your biggest inspiration?
Yeah, she's pretty great. She's right here watching.
Guys, why don't we let Jake head out? I know he's got some other things he's got to take care of tonight. Jake Peacock, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you in about 3 weeks on UFC Fight Pass with Line Fight 63.
Yes, before I leave, can I get one of those sweaters? The sweater Justin's wearing. How come I don't have one of those? I only have the t-shirts.
Scott's got to send one either.
Because you only fight.
I don't have one.
Come on,
Jake, you only fight in warm weather locations.
Yeah, well, I live in
Jake only
I
fights
live
in
the
warm weather.
Arctic.
Vegas.
Yeah, I might fight there, but I live in the Arctic the rest of the year. It's freezing down here.
You know, we'll drape one over you. You win your fight, you know, and a belt. We'll put it over
Yeah,
you.
that's
So,
what
yeah.
I want. That's the only gift I want from winning my fight. One of those.
Look, Jake, if it makes you feel better, that's an old jumper. It's an old design. So he's just wearing something from out of the closet.
That's
We
true,
got new
but
stuff
you
coming.
know,
Yeah.
at least we have one. So you know, it's old, but we have one.
I know. I know. That's what I'm saying. We need to get some
Well,
gear. Let's roll this stuff.
We will set you up, Jake.
Awesome. See you guys.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
See ya.
Thanks to Jake for joining us. Apologies for some technical problems on my end. I've switched to hotspot. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Nathan, why don't I kind of continue on with you? I know like you said, you've had a chance to have some individual chat with Jake. What do you make of this kid? I mean, he really is quite a sensation. I mean, we know about his a guy who fights with only one fully developed arm, but it just doesn't stop him. It just doesn't seem to make a difference. And right now he seems very unbeatable.
He really does, and I just remember the first time I met him back in Vegas, and he just oozed absolute confidence. Like he did not, he was, I would believe to say this, that he was the most confident person in the room. He knew who he was. He believed in himself. He didn't as I'm interviewing him thinking, well, maybe with some kind of disability, maybe he doesn't have it. But it was like, what do you mean? What do you mean I got one arm? Who told you that? Like, there was no side of that. And it just carries on into his fight style as, he's 4-0, 4 knockouts. And that's pretty phenomenal. So he really is a sensation. And like I was saying earlier, like 4 fights. I mean, come on, like 4 professional fights. That's such a baby in the fight game, especially in Muay Thai when, fighters are having 30, 40, 50, 60, and, the Thais are having up to over 100 fights. So with four fights in the bank and he's only like 24, 25, 26 years old, it is absolute prime age the next 5, 6 years. So definitely, you're going to see a lot more of this young man, and wouldn't be surprised if he gets that world title shot, over the next coming couple of years.
What I like is, he acknowledges that he's got a new opponent with Keemaan Diop. I know you haven't had a chance to see Keemaan in person. I have seen him twice fight at past events at Foxwoods. What I think is going to be an interesting dynamic for Jake to look at is, as opposed to Marcos Vasquez, as opposed to Lee Walton, Diop's a very tall, lanky guy, almost a similar build to Jake, but perhaps a little bit taller and a little bit lankier. And he's going to have to deal with that range and that reach and stuff. But again, he's fought three or four different style opponents. They all have looked different. They've been the stockier guy, the taller guy, the bigger guy, and he's just gone through them. But, I think it's going to be an interesting, formidable test in front of him with Keemaan Diop.
Yeah, and like I said, I haven't had a good look at Diop's fights. Had many opportunities to see him fight like you have, or even just seeing him in person. Of course, I'll get the opportunity to talk to him more and get a little bit more deep. But the thing about with Jake is he's very, he's got very much a different styles of dimensions that he can go to. He had the karate background. He traveled around the world competing martial arts. He can switch stances. He can fight left. He can fight right. He can throw high kicks, low kicks. He can throw push kicks from both sides. His knee strikes are great. He can clinch. He can box. He can elbow, and he always is changing stance. So whether the opponent's short or tall, I don't really think it's going to make much of a difference to him, because he has so much versatility in his style that he can go, okay, that's not working. That's not working. Okay, this is going to work, and all of a sudden he's created a distance. But like you said, this is going to be one of those fights that styles make fights, and I think it's a good matchup.
So we did our first episode last week, and we kind of rounded things out with questions that we get, and then we pose to either each other or a fighter or what have you. And one of the questions that I was asked to ask you was, what when you're setting up for the week of fight week, so you arrive in town, 2 to 3 days before the fight, but what do you miss from being the fighter as opposed to the analyst? There's always, I'm sure you don't miss weight cut, but is there anything that you do miss about fight preparation week going from being a fighter to an analyst?
You know what? One of the biggest things that I noticed that when you get that last week, and I think it's because your diet's so clean, you're so pristine with your food, you're dialed in, and when you're dialed in, you become super hyper focused, and you become clear. And those last few days before the fight, from the adrenaline of the fight, from the focus of the fight, from even like getting rid of some of the food now that we don't need, it enlightens you and you become super clear and razor sharp. And I remember that being just one of those moments where your brain is just working just even faster than it ever was before in that moment. And I do miss that feeling. I feel like it's a feeling it's not easy just to get to without that heightened sense of like, a fight going in as a gladiator and all the work you've done before that. But for myself personally, also when I'm prepping for my collar position and getting behind the mic for the camera, I have a shower, I put my clothes on and I walk to the venue and I have that same sort of feeling of, anxiousness, that same feeling like, okay, I'm going on show now. Like I'm going to fight. I remember the first time I even did it, I was like walking to the venue, like, okay, I'm fighting tonight. So I'm going to fight. So I have that same kind of intensity of feeling. Of course, I don't have to have the shin clashes and the cuts and the bruises, but it's exciting. I get excited. I have the same kind of adrenaline-like feeling, but in a different seat. That's all it is now. But it's great.
I remember the first time you were doing this, and it was really amazing to me, and your history in the sport and all that kind of stuff. But just how many current fighters were like, really? I get Carnage Corbett is going to be the guy that is sitting, and talking to me. I mean, that was really interesting. And you can kind of get that from them, and I think things out you as well, is that you're excited to be doing it. They're excited to be talking to you.
Well, you heard Jake, just say before, like, oh, I just watched your videos from last night because I taught a class at the gym and I was super excited and I was into it. And I'm inspiring him, he's watching my videos from training. I'm inspiring him. It makes him get excited. I mean, he's already excited and inspired already without me. So just to have that extra little push on people, it makes me feel good. And I love going to the fights and have the fighters, interested in me calling the fights or talking to them or interviewing them, because it makes me feel good because I was there before. I understand them. And, when I was fighting, I'd love to have people that I looked up to, or I knew what they were talking about, or I knew that was involved in the fight game, or had been through the wars and had the blood and had the sweat. So you have that, that connection, and it just gives me a lot of great, a lot of gratitude to be able to have this position and be there. And now, like for a long time, I was a little bit, like wanting to still be the fighter. But now I'm really excited to make these new people the stars, to know them better, to be able to talk to them, to be able to lift them up and put them on the stage, to be able to give them the credit and all the achievements that they deserve to be. So for me, it's just an honor to be able to shine their light, and make them a superstar and make them feel good.
Well, on that note, let's wrap up. This has been our second episode of Lion Fight Zoom Chats. We will be back again next week, and we're going to have more special guests and more chat from Nathan Corbett. Justin Kwan, thank you for handling things, and we will see you next week.